Hello, and welcome back to the Ambassadors of Gaming. I am one in your army of hosts, Ambassador Michael, and today we want to discuss the new Respawn game, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I will be narrating for Daryl's impressions today. Daryl has many thoughts about this game, so it's actually going to be quite a lengthy video. So let's just get right into what Daryl has to say. Is the Force strong with Respawn? Following on from the success of Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends, Respawn Entertainment has tackled one of the most iconic franchises in Star Wars. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a single-player third-person action-adventure which was teased back at E3 2018 and revealed during the Star Wars celebration in April of this year. Set 5 years after the events of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, you play as one remaining Jedi, a young Padawan, Cal Kestis, played by Cameron Monaghan from Gotham and Shameless, who has managed to avoid the destruction of the Jedi Order after Chancellor Palpatine issued Order 66, where the clone troopers turned upon the Jedi they were serving, under which Palpatine enabled and eliminated the Jedi to allow the Sith to take over and create the Empire. Now let's talk about the game. Visually, it's stunning. Maybe not to the level of detail, say Red Dead Redemption 2 or Death Stranding, but still we see it look striking on Xbox One X with 4K and HDR. Character models mostly look pretty good, though if you look you'll see there's more detail on other character models than certain ones. So there's a disparity, there's not the same level of detail across all character models, but it's nothing major and it doesn't detract from the game in any form. Regarding performance, the frame rate runs well even in combat, both on Xbox One X. We have choices, so you can run at 4K 30 frames per second, or you can choose 1080p 60 frames per second, depending on what your choices in graphics and fidelity. If you play on the base systems, however, it just runs at 1080 30 frames per second. I've yet to see any issues with major frame rate drops. Audio is very accurate and recreates a Star Wars feel, which I feel for a Star Wars game is extremely important. You want a faithful recreation when you turn on your lightsaber, and they have authentic sounds placed in here as well. The stable frame rate allows for smooth gameplay. Combat is easy to get grips with, and you can acquire force abilities as you play, such as wall running and force push. You also have a skill tree which you can use to learn new moves or enhance your abilities, and the skill tree focuses on 3 main areas. It focuses on force, your life, and the lightsaber. These are upgraded in the meditation sites around the map that are also used as the game's save states, or the save points. There's no automatic saves through levels. You have to manually save. The autosave is done through the meditation, so when you stop it will technically autosave, but you still have to initiate it. Your loyal droid companion BD-1 can be upgraded by locating upgrade benches. Some of these benches also let you customize your lightsaber. You'll find chests around the maps where you can get skins for your ship, for yourself, your equipment, your armor, or your lightsaber, and then you can change these at any time in the pause screen. So all cosmetic items, that's mostly what the collectibles are in this game, are logs and cosmetic items. Each world you visit will require some backtracking. 2 examples are one world, there was a route that was not available until you unlocked the wall run. Another was a cracked wall that you would need the force push ability to get past, and you have no marker on screen pointing where the objective is, and it's not always shown on the map, usually if you're not on the same level. So for example, if your objective is taking you to the maps are laid out in levels just like in an apartment building or a building, so floor 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. For some this may be frustrating, but personally I found it easy to adapt to. When you're not in combat, there's a lot of exploring, climbing, platforming kind of sections, walking along beams, branches, swinging, things like that. This is the type of gameplay you can say is influenced by Naughty Dog's Uncharted. While exploring, it's not uncommon to find hidden rooms or shortcuts through the level. So going back to the unlocking of, say, the force push, you can find hidden areas by smashing a wall. These areas may include a whole new actual level behind them, and so the level design is quite impressive. It's up to you to explore everything or do the section just as you need to for the story to progress, and either way it will affect your game, as you may or may not discover upgrades or abilities, and there's also many bosses throughout each of the worlds. You also sometimes character interactions get a choice of dialogue, so I've yet to determine if there are any ways to show if it has any impact, but along with the skill tree it does add some RPG elements, whether or not we know if it actually impacts the game or not. I had some issues with the game, but nothing major. Sometimes the stormtroopers don't respond to your presence as much as you would expect, but since I'm not playing on the hardest difficulty, I can't determine if that's a factor. I can confirm that even on Jedi Master, the second hardest difficulty, I also had this issue. Sometimes the AI just doesn't recognize you exist. Just whatever is supposed to trigger it just doesn't. Also, the camera can be tricky to get used to in combat, especially when it's up close. And I'll mention I had less issues as the game goes on. When you look at the facial captures, you'll see that Cameron Monaghan's details are really well done, but they're not to like the level of Norman Reedus in Death Stranding, or even the character models in Modern Warfare. So they're detailed, but they don't have that photo hyperrealism to them that those other games do. Jedi Fallen Order also runs on Unreal Engine 4, and Death Stranding uses Decima, and then Modern Warfare engine was built specifically for that game, and it kind of rebooted that. Again, regarding my complaints, Cameron's facial details are down to the Unreal Engine. The compromise, I'm not really sure, because there's just a little bit of it looking strange. Don't be wrong, Cal looks really good, and for the most part in terms of gameplay it has zero effect, as you'll only see in cutscenes, but I do have to mention it. It does affect my rating of the game, kind of, but it wouldn't stop it if I were to say give it a 10 out of 10, make it a perfect. It wouldn't hinder it that much. Now I'll try to summarize and decide if whether or not I recommend this. On the whole, we have a beautiful looking game that's a post episode 3 world with audio and sound effects that are what we expect. As a fan, I ideally wanted a strong single player game for Star Wars. I love the films and have done pretty much all my life, and I don't think as of yet that Respawn's let me down. Their CEO confirmed that they worked really closely with Lucasfilms in an interview with Variety. The fact that this game is Star Wars canon is a huge plus for me, which also adds pressure to Respawn. They had to earn the right to use lightsabers and the use of Jedis, so looking at how much they had to do to craft the final product deserves mention. Yet as much as this game ticks so many boxes, I nearly passed on it. I'm not a big fan of Dark Souls combat. I don't mind difficulty in combat within an RPG, and I've had no real issues with games like Kingdom Come Deliverance, where a few others may have. And prior to launch, Fallen Orders was said to kind of be Souls-esque. Not long after, it was said to be based on a combat similar to Sekiro, which although still from Softwares is different to Souls, it's still that difficulty spike. So I did watch a lot of footage on the combat and felt okay, I'll get this. So if you're not a fan of Dark Souls, don't worry, in my honest opinion, all is not lost. So you've probably worked out, I love the game so far, and have no hesitation recommending it. If you're a huge fan of the Star Wars franchise and love combat and exploratory action adventures, then this is seriously worth looking into. If you love the story on Titanfall 2, then this could also be a game for you. We have a single player game that fits into the Star Wars universe and is considered canon. We have which, after a dozen hours of play or so, appears to be solid and interesting. It is a game meticulously crafted when you factor in the worlds you visit and how they are presented, and the sounds and audio enriched that environment and experience so much more. It feels like an authentic Star Wars game. But even with a good story, hitting the mark on the audio and visual side, you need good gameplay, and you need a stable frame rate, which Respawn have, for me, got right. But how much you want it is more of a factor, as if you're really interested but not a huge Star Wars fan, then maybe wait a couple of weeks for Black Friday. At least then EA games are typically reduced. But if you are a person who adores Star Wars and what I've told you, and you've seen these boxes be ticked for you, then you're going to get a high quality action adventure. Friends, that's like the longest impression I've ever had to do for Dale. That's a lot of words. I don't even think Red Dead 2 was that long when he wrote the impressions for that. I'd have to go back and look. The short version of what I have to say is that obviously Daryl believes this is a authentic experience and something that if you're a Star Wars fan is really worth your time to look into. I've played the game a bit myself, and I think I agree mostly with what Daryl has to say here. I typically don't chime in, but there's one area where he mentions audio, but he doesn't specify. The game uses a lot of older music or reworked music from the movies, stuff that sounds really familiar with Star Wars fans. So if you're playing it, you'll recognize some of the music, or at least it will feel like something you've heard before from Star Wars. And so it really lays an extra layer of authenticity to the game. Anyways, as always, friends, I will leave you with the screenshot bonus round that Daryl has provided for you, so you can kind of get an idea of more what the game looks like, other than just the direct feed footage we provided for you today. As always, Please do the like, share, subscribe, all of that. Please share us with your friends. Let us know what you think of Jedi Fallen Order if you've picked it up. If not, let us know if this has convinced you to pick it up, or whether or not it's convinced you to pass on it. Either way, we'd like to know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, what you're playing. Until next time, friends, I'm Ambassador Michael. Goodbye.